Good morning. It's a little after 5, and I have not been able to go back to sleep since 3. And the thing that just keeps running through my head for some reason, I've just been thinking about the church, thinking about what the church has, what I have experienced in church, and so I just want to kind of share some stuff. And this is primarily, I just want to talk to some I want to talk to if there's a pastor that hears this, I want you to listen. I want you to just take a moment and think about why you're a pastor. Um, there's a verse in John, I'm sure you know, where it just talks about if we lift up the name of Jesus, he will draw men to him. And so I just want to challenge you. Is that your primary focus? Because there's something we have to check ourselves with. As a leader, am I focused on drawing men to me or drawing men to him? That's a hard thing, because we're all trying, as a leader, we're trying to accomplish something, and we feel called to accomplish something. And this goes even for business owners that are called by Christ to lead people to him, not just to their company. And so this is a hard thing, because that means that that our primary focus is getting them to become what Jesus wants them to be, not what we want them to be. And so I just want to encourage you pastors out there, if any of you listen to this, that that I pray that you start to see the people in your congregation, that you start seeing them for what God has called them to be, and that you start asking God to show you how you're supposed to be in their life, how you're supposed to empower them, or lay hands on them and call them out, whatever it may be. I don't know, but I pray that you would see people, and you would invest in people like Jesus invested in people. He brought the best out of them, and it wasn't just about them. It's different. Jesus was about them doing what he called them to do, to drop everything. But the local church and we can't think so highly of ourselves that people are just supposed to drop what they're doing to do what we want them to do, because one, we're not Jesus, and one, we don't have a pure heart a lot of times. And so the one thing that we have to check ourselves on is, do I really care about the individual to the point to where even if it brings a loss to me? So my pastor at my church, he said, we have to have an open hand policy. And so I even think about that as a business owner and people that come work for me. Do I have an open hand policy with the people that are coming in working with me? Do I see what God is calling to do? Am I willing to ask the person that could be benefiting me? Am I willing to ask the person, what is God calling you to be, or calling you to do? Are you supposed to be here? And if he believes he is, then that's good. If he believes he's not, then guess what? That's good too, because it's about God. It's about people living out what God's calling them to do. And so, as a pastor, I want to encourage you guys. Are you mindful of what God is calling others to do, not just what he's calling you to do? Because as a leader, you can become self-absorbed. And so even if you're leading some type of group, an organization, are you mindful of what God has called others to do? Are you mindful of that? And I believe that when we become more mindful of that, then God can have his way in our company, and people will actually become, there's leaders in the making. There's people that you're probably could be looking over or whatever, or not seeing much potential in. If you take the time to see what God sees in them and start investing in them, they could eventually be the main thing that your business or church or whatever needed. But you're gonna need God to help you with that. You can't even do it, because guess what? We see with these eyes, and a lot of times we don't see with the eyes of that God has given us, our the eyes of our heart, or whatever it may be. So I want to try to wrap this up real quick. So this is, and I just want to bring it down to this. A lot of times what happens as leaders is that we become about and I got this when I was a youth pastor. He God just showed me where I was about the youth coming to the youth service to make me look good. So the more people that came, the better I felt, the better I looked. I was proving myself. Look at what's going on. And I just had Jesus check me a little bit. He goes, Nikolai, you're about them being about you. You're about them being about you. You're not about them. And so that hit me really hard. And I try to keep that mentality in what I'm doing now. Am I about people being about me? And I have to check myself in that. And so I just want to encourage pastors, first of all, man, primary purpose in life, lift up his name and he will draw men to him. Let that be your focus. That's my prayer for you. Don't worry about who's coming to your church. Don't worry about who's leaving your church. Are you lifting his name up? Are you more concerned about that? Are you more concerned about the fact that we need, as people coming to hear you preach, we need you to talk about Jesus and what he's done and how he's pursuing us and how he's loving us and how he's forgiven us and how he wants to draw near to us. That's what we want to hear. That's what we need to hear. That's what we need to be reminded of. He wants us. He's pursuing us, even though we turn away. That's as a member of a church, that's what I need to hear. And it brings me closer to Jesus. It's not about being influential. It's about, man, Jesus, you're drawing near to me. And guess what? When we live a life that senses that feels that, that knows that, then guess what? We're going to become influential because we're spending time with Jesus. The second thing is just, I want to encourage you, man, don't get caught up and offended by people coming or going or whatever. Have an open hand. Don't be someone that's about others being about you. Allow Jesus to show you how to be about others and to serve them, and not just think, well, I'm preaching the word, so I'm about. No. Serve them. Be aware of their needs. Be aware of what's going on in their family. And pray for them. And in that, they'll probably, as you do that, probably be able to break away from their chaos and start praying for you. Love you.